Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to another Premier Draft of Duskmourn, House of Horror. Without further ado, let's get into the pack one, pick one, and we'll probably just go with the safest option here. Ghost Vacuum's a pretty powerful colorless rare. It might be like a tiny bit weaker than a premium monocolored common like Withering Torment's like a great removal spell, or Fear of Burning Alive can shoot your opponent's best creature and their face for 4 in the late game. So there's some really good uncommons in this pack, but it makes up for maybe being a tiny bit weaker and a tiny bit more situational by fitting into literally any color pair, as long as you're a slightly slower deck. As long as you can make it to 6 mana, this is going to pop out a bunch of 1/1 flyers in the late game. The only thing that makes it a little bit situational, a little bit weak, is that you have to wait till you have at least 6 mana total, and your opponent has that whole time that you're setting it up to find some kind of interaction for it, some way to blow up an artifact. So it doesn't always pop off, but when it does, you're probably going to win the game, getting a bunch of 1/1 flying spirit versions of the best creatures in everybody's graveyard. So for pick number 2, we've got some pretty good signpost uncommons. Midnight Mayhem for Boros aggro, although that's probably the most aggressive deck in the format and the least powerful place to play a Ghost Vacuum. There is a Rite of the Moth. This is a little awkward with Ghost Vacuum because you do want to be able to like exile your own creature cards from grave as well, just to stack as many creatures under this thing as possible, get as many spirits as possible. So both of these signpost uncommons, as strong as they are, don't go perfectly with Ghost Vacuum. They're still probably the strongest option in this pack. I have been perfectly fine with Rootwise Survivor in my green decks before, and Diversion Specialist for the sack decks, but I think it's probably one of these, or maybe just the decent red removal. I'm going to go for the Rite of the Moth here. I think Black-White Reanimator is a pretty fun archetype, and it's a little bit on the slower end of things compared to Boros aggro, so it's a color pair where we can actually be trying to make it to 6 or 7 mana, because in these Reanimator decks, you always have the backup plan of just hard casting the massive threats that you draft that you're attempting to reanimate. Pick 3, easy Withering Torment here. Excellent option since we've pushed into black. Had we taken the Boros uncommon, this would be an easy Scorching Dragonfire. So a really clear kind of on-rail to either direction here in this pack. Pick 4 is not super exciting. Guess the Percussionist and the Living Phone are like fine filler cards for Boros aggro, but since we are in the Orzhov Reanimator direction, the Spectral Snatcher is fine filler, because you can Swamp Cycle it and then reanimate it for 4 mana with your Rite of the Moth, so it's like a fine card. Certainly not something I want to pick super high, like I don't really want to pick it pick 4, but there's nothing premium here. The best card might be Duskmourn's Domination, which is mostly just 6 mana removal. You do get to steal your opponent's creature, but it loses all its abilities and 3 of its power, so you kind of just get a blocker out of the deal. Kill their best card, get a mediocre blocker. Pick 5, this is just removal the pack. There's a Betrayer's Bargain in red, Seized from Slumber in white, and Unable to Scream in blue. If I had to choose the order in which the power level is, they're pretty close in power level, but I would say Betrayer's Bargain number 1, Unable to Scream number 2, Seized from Slumber number 3. But again, all 3 of these are close enough, and we're already in Orzhov that we can just take the Seized from Slumber. There's not a wide gap in power level between all these. And Orzhov is actually the color pair that I think Seized from Slumber can be kind of at its best, because in the early game you sit there for a while trying to set up and get your big creatures discarded. So having the cheap just 2 mana destroy a tapped creature removal is nice for helping you survive. And I think we already have the Ghost Vacuum being a little bit of an awkward combo with our reanimation spells. Veteran Survivor would also be eating up our graveyard. Fighting with our Ghost Vacuum, fighting with our reanimation spells. It's a little awkward in this deck, and again, I like to be a little slower and more controlling. So I think 2 copies of Seized from Slumber is a pretty good spot to start. I also think there's better ways to get your reanimation targets in your grave than Possessed Goat. We can take this when it's down to like 2 or 3 cards in the pack because nobody else really wants the goats, and ideally we'll find other ways to bring stuff back. So we do have a Withering Torment and 2 Seized from Slumbers already, so I think I can go ahead and spend a pick on the Cynical Loner. It's going to be a little difficult for us to get this to get a survival trigger, but if it does get one, we get to put our best reanimation target in our grave, or if we already have a good reanimation target in our grave, it works really well with flashback as well, and the Rite of the Moth itself has flashback, so we can put the reanimation spell in the grave too. So if we trigger survival on this, it's going to be really good. So we are passing up on a decent removal spell with Winter's Intervention, but again, we have 3 already. So let's get that Cynical Loner for some nice combo potential. And pick 8, speaking of combo potential, Fanatic of the Harrowing is fine here. It's going to have each player discard a card. Ideally, we're discarding our expensive creature, and our opponent is discarding just anything, doesn't really matter to us, and then we're drawing another card. It's really just a pretty good, decent on-rate excuse to shove a reanimation target in the grave. Certainly better than the Goat. So we'll load up on the Fanatics. We have 2 Fanatics and a Cynical Loner already. Looking pretty good here. Tons of removal, 1 reanimation spell, 3 ways to put any reanimation target in grave. 1 Cynical Loner, 2 Fanatics, 3 Fanatics. All right. Really just need to find the big creatures to reanimate, and then, you know, a little more ways to discard, a little more ways to reanimate, a little more ways to destroy things. But this is a beautiful start here. We have like a tiny bit of everything that the deck needs, except reanimation targets. We only have 1 of those for now. That's where I think we probably need to put the most work. I don't think just a 5-mana 5/5 is a particularly exciting target, so I'm going to grab the Keys to the House. This will be decent mana fixing. We can just play this over a land, but especially if we end up splashing anything in, it'll end up playing decently, and it can help fill Delirium if we find a random spell that really needs Delirium active to be good. So pack 2, pick 1, we've got the Goat, we've got a Fear of Immobility, we've got a Final Vengeance. I don't think we're going to be a very good Final Vengeance deck. I doubt we're going to have a ton of cheap creatures and enchantments to sacrifice to this thing. So I guess a Fear of Immobility it is. Could play a Glimmerlight just to have a trumper early, but I really don't think this is the archetype for Glimmerlight. Not much to splash here either. The best card is Double Green, which is not splashable. I could splash a Scorching Dragonfire, but there's going to be no need if we can continue at the pace we are picking up removal. 3 removal spells per pack. We certainly don't need to splash any in. Fear of Immobility it is. Not a great opening for us. Another green rare. That's a little disappointing. Balustrade Worm. 5-mana 5/5 Trample Haste can't be countered, and it can come back from the graveyard once. Yikes. Terrifying card. Shard Mage's Rescue is probably okay in here. We're not going to have a ton of creatures, so by the time we reanimate like a big, powerful late-game creature, our opponent could pretty easily just have some leftover removal in their hand because they haven't had to kill much on our board early game. So I like having the trick to counter a removal spell one time. Alright, well, we might end up being a bit of a more filler version of the Orzhov Reanimator deck, sadly, where all of our reanimation targets are just land cyclers. At least that means they'll be really easy to get into our graveyard, but certainly not the scariest late-game threats. I suppose alternatively here, we do have the Commune with Evil. Look, at the top 4, put 1 into the hand and the rest into the grave, so ideally flipping a big creature, picking up the reanimation spell or early removal or something. It actually probably plays pretty well in the deck. I'll take the Commune. I think we should be able to get plenty of the filler land cyclers. That's a little bit more of a rare kind of card for this deck. Some good card selection that also fills the grave. Pick 4. Pretty much nothing. I don't think we want 2 Shard Mage's Rescues, but there's nothing else here. I guess we could take the Conductive Machete, because technically we could like manifest a non-creature and mill the creature. But if we manifest the creature, we can flip it up anyway. Yeah, I don't know. This is a fine value play, and I don't think I want more than like one of that Shard Mage's Rescue, just because we're not going to have something on board to protect that often. So if we ever have two of them in a hand, it's going to be really bad to draw duplicates or draw multiples. Another Fear of Immobility, more filler top end cards to reanimate. I'm starting to get a little bit sad and a little bit worried here, because this deck is just like a couple really powerful, like 7-8 mana creatures from being like a super good deck. And we've seen like none of them. Technically, I only have one reanimation spell right now also, just one copy of Rite of the Moth. So I could take that Emerge from the Cocoon over the Murder here. We've got Torment, double Seized from Slumber. Actually haven't picked up any removal this pack yet. I think I'm grabbing another removal spell here. Because again, we have just not found the good reanimation targets. I like the Innocuous Rat as an early way to get a lot of blocks in. Chumps twice, blocks as a 1/1, then it blocks as a 2/2. Manifests to throw some nonsense in your grave. Not aggressive enough to really care about the +2/+4 on the Ghost, so we can go for the Amalgam with its surveillability to dirtle around with our graveyard. There's that Goat for even more ways to discard reanimation cards. I don't think we really need any more. We have Commune to mill, some Manifest to mill, Fanatics, and a Loner. We need more good reanimation targets and more reanimation spells at this point. Getting some random filler removal in the end. There's a reanimation target with a Shepherding Spirits. Not one I'm particularly excited about. Our deck looks decent at using the Ghost Vacuum. This is obviously at its best in decks that don't have any reanimation, so you can exile your own creatures from your grave as well. But since we have some removal spells to shove opposing creatures in the grave, and some discard spells that might get them to discard some random creatures, we should still have a few targets by the time we're activating this at 6 mana. Should be able to spit out 3 or 4 1/1s. Even if we don't exile our own cards from grave. And we could still do that, like our Innocuous Rat that chumped earlier, our Cynical Loner that died, like we're not going to use a reanimation spell on these, so we could still exile them to the vacuum. Small stuff like that. Okay, pack number 3. Give me the fatties. There are no fatties in this pack. I guess if we reanimate a Patch Plaything, it's a 4/3 double strike that is moderately large. Worth taking that over Seized from Slumber. I'm on Murder, double Seized from Slumber, Withering Torment. I'm on 4 removal. I've got a Bear Trap and a Final Vengeance as well in a pinch. Yeah, I guess I'll go for the Plaything here. It's also pretty cute with the Ghost Vacuum. You can Ghost Vacuum your Plaything and get a 1/1 flying double strike. Pretty gross. Pick 2, Rite of the Moth for sure. So that now we have 2 reanimation spells, but because they have flashback, almost like we have 4, we're only going to draw them as frequently as we would draw 2, though. Although the Loner can tutor for them and flash them back, which is turning into a really good combo now that we have 2 flashbacking reanimator spells. Come on, somebody pass me the 7 mana Death Toucher that draws a card and drains life every time it enters or attacks. Please, give me something massive. There's nothing massive in this pack. At least on color, I could Island Cycle a Megalodon with no islands in the deck. But we're not going to do that. We'll take a Trapped in the Screen for more great removal. Get all our non-creatures in a pile. Yeah, this is a very slow deck. We're going to be playing a really low creature count and just trying to survive the early game with a bunch of removal. Reanimate some land cyclers or something. Really missed on the reanimation targets. This is really the flaw of like the Orzhov archetype. is that like, well, there's a bunch of different aspects of the deck that you need to have. You need to have the reanimation spells, you need to have the ways to discard your reanimation targets, and you need to have the reanimation targets. And it's like, we have all of them, sort of. Like here I can now take a Miasma Demon, because we just ended up taking a couple pretty good removal spells this pack already. But really, these are not premium reanimation targets at all. Like, there are all these reanimation targets we can pick up, and then our opponent can just 1-for-1 removal them, and it's like nothing ever happened. You really want the ones with, like, really good enter the battlefield effects or death triggers or something, and pretty much all those are, like, uncommon and rare, mythic even. But wow, do we have the reanimators? No! 4 reanimation spells and mediocre creatures to reanimate? This is the life I live. Still gonna go for it. Maybe we'll get pick 7 Valgavoth. That is the best reanimation target in the format, the Valvagoth. Wow, now a liver die? This is destroy any creature, and it's reanimate any creature. This is awkward. So close to like perfect. Probably like 3 cards away from the perfect deck, and those 3 cards would be like 3 really powerful reanimation targets, as I've been saying. And at this point, I just need to take more random land cycling idiots. Because we have so many ways to reanimate now. Double right, double faithful, liver die. I don't think I'm playing any of this. I'm going to hold down that alt key, see what I need for the collection. And we'll take uncommons before commons to speed things up. I really don't need a 4th Fanatic of the Harrowing. Get a Fear of the Dark. I don't think I'm playing the first keys. We didn't really end up with Delirium. We're not going to play this combat trick either, though. So I'll actually take the keys for Vault Progress. Ooh, I can get my 4th copy of Fanatic String. Playset acquired. And then this is random. Okay, well, if we opened slightly cooler top-end creatures, this deck could have been pretty cool, but as it stands, it's going to be the example of what can go wrong with drafting Orzhov Reanimator. It can be perfectly open. You can end up with all the removal, all the reanimation spells. Just looks like it was a really fair color pair to be in this draft pod in terms of what we were getting past, but there just weren't enough strong reanimation targets getting opened up in these packs. So it still falls a little flat despite being a pretty open color pair that we got a lot of strong cards for. It needs all the different cogs in the machine to really get it whirring, and we're missing one of those cogs. I mean, we're not missing a cog, it's like the play school version of the deck instead of the scary machine. So 10 cuts here. We have infinite ways to discard cards. We're not going to put ourselves down a card to do it with Cracked Skull. And so many of our reanimation targets just have land cycling anyway, so we really don't need to run pretty much any kind of self-mill and discard spells. Because we'll still be able to reanimate regardless. I'm just cutting my filler cheap creatures and running the filler cheap removal over that. Really loading up on top end with all our reanimation spells. So just drop these 2 that don't have much synergy. I still need to cut 6 cards. Still 15 creatures. That is more than we need for sure. Probably cut a Fanatic and still be perfectly fine on reanimating. Yeah, I'll cut a Fanatic. Cut a Fear the Dark. Four more cuts to go. Final Vengeance. Only got really the Rat for a super expendable card. Bear Trap is super filler removal. We are at the point that we have Trapped in the Screen, Withering Torment, Murder, Double Seized from Slumber, and Live or Die. That's tons of removal, even without these filler ones. Yeah, Shard Mage's Rescue is actually just really narrow in this deck. We basically don't ever want to cast it until we've reanimated something, and our reanimation targets are not even that exciting to be super pumped about countering their removal. In the end, yeah, drop that. Machete doesn't have a ton of synergy. It's a solid card in general, but it doesn't do anything super good for this deck. So that could be another cut here. Sure. Cut the Fear of the Dark and the Machete. Yeah, we'll go 1-1 with the fears. We'll go 1 Fear of Immobility, 1 Fear of the Dark. Drop the Machete, call it a deck there. Yep, 15 black cards, 9 white, so play 9 swamps, 8 plains. Bunch of land cyclers. Actually, with 3 land cyclers, and because of all our reanimation spells, we basically always want to cycle these. We're going to turn these into a land pretty much every time, so we could certainly cut a land or 2 here when we have this many land cyclers. So I could actually drop 2 lands and still kind of be running an 18 land deck thanks to 3 land cyclers, and like run the Fanatic still and another Fear of Immobility for more stuff to reanimate. Or I could still try the Shard Mage's Rescue or something here. The Conductive Machete. Maybe even just a Leech for another early blocker. Plenty fine options for the last filler card. But I think we'll roll like this. Pretty cool archetype. Did not get any of the super cool payoffs. We just got the good signposts. So I'm a little sad with how the draft went, but it still looks like a pretty solid, pretty average deck here. Could spit out a solid maybe like 4-3 run, but we'll see how it actually does as we head into the gameplay and see how it does. Alright, here we are for game number 1. We have the Ride of the Moth with 2 reanimation targets for it. We're guaranteed to have the mana for it because we can swamp cycle the Snatcher. And it's a Plaything dies that's an even better target for the Ride of the Moth. I guess debatable, but I think a 4-3 double strike's a bit better than a 4-5 flyer or a 6-5. Although the 6-5 is the closest to being a good target because of the ward ability. Might actually be pretty much as good as the Plaything. Playing against Rule, they are a green-red deck on the play, starting with a 2-mana 3-1. So they've got the beatdown going already, and we're probably going to have to just cash in a Seized from Slumber early. I suppose we play Patch Thing, or Patch Plaything turn 3. We have a Double Striker to block the Watchdog without ever dying, so we can save the Seized for their 3-mana threat, ideally. So spend this turn getting our Swamp for Ride of the Moth. Okay, that's sketchy. That's sketchy enough. I'm probably just going to Seized from Slumber next turn. Yeah, I've got double Ride of the Moth coming up now. So if I Plaything and they just like Scorch Dragonfire or something, that's super bad for me. Because then they're getting in for 6. This thing is spitting out a 1-1 token and then trying to draw cards in the future. I'm just going to try to blow that thing up. There are less cards they could have to stop me from blowing this up than cards they could have to stop this from blocking. There's only like 1 hexproof trick in the set, and it's the uncommon white aura that we drafted. I think we ended up cutting it actually though, because our threats are not super significant anyway. Okay, Diversion Specialist, Manus. Fanatic on the Spirits. Get them to draw a card when they only have 3 cards in their hand, and then this trades into the 3/1 Watchdog. Since reanimating anything isn't going to deal with the specialist anyway, we'll use this for card draw to try to dig towards removal, ideally. Okay, there it is. Live or die, blow up the specialist, and stop the menace threat. Right now, we just want to stay alive, and then we're going to double up Ride of the Moths to win once we're stable. Solid trade. Oof. We're going to have like one really good blocker on board. We're not going to be in a good position for blocking a wide board state. Ten life. If I reanimate something here, taking 6, going to 4. It's got to be just kill specialist and take 4. Probably better to do it while they're tapped out, even though there's only one trick I can really think of. There might be a green hexproof trick that I haven't seen because I haven't been able to play green too much. Stop playing threats. Top deck lands, please. Hey, there we go. This might be enough, though. 3 2/2s at this point. Yeah, I can play a single blocker, and if they have a single removal spell, we're dead. There's no life gain here, no matter what we play. There's no way to play it to get 2 bodies on the board. So we play whatever is the least likely to die, which I imagine is the card with Ward, and then we hope for the best. However, Ward of discard a card means they can definitely do it if they have removal. They'll kill it, and we'll die. And that works. Fear of Immobility. Yeah. Just a little too slow. We certainly had the cards to take over the long game, but we did not have time to do it since our opponent was an aggro deck on the play, and they did curve out pretty well there. 0-1 heading into Game 2. Alright, here we are for Game 2 with a garbage hand. Ship it, get a new 6. As our opponent has as well. This is solid. Got the early game blocker. We have the double black for murder. Actually think I'm even ditching a land here. Green, white, another pretty aggressive color pair. It's actually a really frustrating one when your opponent's on the play as well, because the survival mechanic gets so much stronger on the play. It's easier to curve out and have your creatures stick around, trigger their survival abilities. Like if this sticks around, it's drawing them another land every turn. So we're going to try to just kill it immediately, and it did work. Alright, they're green, white, black, so probably a little slower playing a 3-color deck, but there's another 2-drop. Wary Watchdog has arrived. 3 mana here. Innocuous Rat is like genuinely good against the Watchdog, so we'll just drop that. We get to trade into the Watchdog and leave a 2/2 behind. Swamp cycling of their own. And then their own Innocuous Rats. Alright, thank you, Innocuous Rat. Very cool. Certainly buying us time. This hand's starting to look like it may be just trying to hardcast this demon. They discard a liver die. Oh, Ghost Vacuum would be so good, but them discarding liver die means they probably are already reanimating this Snatcher with something else. Okay, no they're not. They're just getting aggressive. Fair. Get you out of here. Yeah, rat going to the grave for Ghost Vacuum's perfectly fine. Then I have the 2/2 to block the rat. Get more creatures in grave for Ghost Vacuum. Alright. Ooh, they've got one card in hand. Sorry, Miasma Demon. They've got exactly one card in hand. Let's get rid of that. Brood Spinner is a pretty decent one as well. Alright, now we start setting up the Ghost Vacuum win, which should be really good in this matchup, because they're running like Liver Die, probably some Delirium cards outside the Brood Spinner. Our opponent actively cares about their graveyard. Actually weirdly winning the race here, so I'm just taking the damage. They get a 6th mana, they activate the Weight Room and have a 5/5 on board that I can then murder. Alright, looks like it's time to murder a 5/5 to keep winning the race on board. Okay, what is the strongest creature in their graveyard for us to have as a 1/1 flyer? It's certainly not the Brood Spinner, because we don't have green mana to activate it. So which one of these is best as a 1/1 flyer? Maybe the Cartographer, because the survival ability. The Ward's good too. Yeah, Cartographer, I think. Aw. This were the second planes, we'd be shepherding some spirits in, but instead I think we're holding on to it so that if I Ghost Vacuum back a bunch of Fanatics later, I have a bunch of extra random lands sitting in my hand to discard. Because I may end up doing that, because our Fanatics have much better abilities than these. These are just going to be 1/1 flyers with no text. But the Fanatics can let me ditch all my lands and draw a bunch of cards. Also, Miasma Demon's a good one, but I don't want to exile Miasma Demon, because if I top deck a reanimation spell, I want to be able to cast that on the Miasma Demon. Manifest some more Dread. Something on board, and a 7/6 Trample in the grave. That's concerning, because if they put that on the board, they could have flipped it up and had a 7/6 Trample. So, were the top 2 cards on their Manifest Dread both great creatures? Is it 2 7/6 Tramples here? No flip. It almost makes me more concerned. Under the Skin. Oh, that's actually really good against Ghost Vacuum because it doesn't target. They Manifest Dread and then they may return a permanent from their graveyard to hand. So I have to do it before they Manifest Dread. I have to exile, and I can't respond to them targeting anything in grave to return. It's just once they say what they're returning, it's in their hand. I can't blank that. I think I get rid of the Brood Spinner then. But because it doesn't target, you don't have an opportunity to respond to their choice. Once the choice is named, it's in their hand. You might be able to respond to the Manifest Dread once you see what else is in their grave, but you definitely can't respond to them picking a card up like you can with most Graveyard Recursion. Alright, they pick up the flyer, and we find the Rite of the Moth. This is so weird, but if I Rite of the Moth a Fanatic, I can make sure they don't have the flyer in hand, and we might be able to kill them in 2 hits with this Spirits. I guess that works if I pop the Ghost Vacuum as well. That's probably better. Because I have a Fanatic under here to trigger. Okay, no flyer in their hand, and we've got tons of flying power on board. And there's the concession. It is going to be 1-1 heading into game 3. Here we are for game 3. Need a black source, but one black source does get us there, and there it is. Bale Merkleech, starting with a 2-2 that can drain us for some life. Certainly like having the double striker against that. Black-white mirror match it is. Go down to 18. I was about to say, I'm pretty sure there's not a counterspell in black-white. I may have missed something in recent years, but I don't think that's how the color pie works. No mana tithe in the set. Oh, there is Sheltered by Ghosts, though. One of the grossest uncommons in the whole format. +1/+0, lifelink, ward 2, and exile your opponent's best threat until they deal with your lifelink warded monstrosity. We somehow have 0 removal despite having a lot in the deck right now. Guess we need to Fanatic so that they have to play another removal spell to attack with Amalgam. And this also does dig us 1 card deeper to removal. On the plus side, if we can get this Amalgam killed, then we're going to get a 4/3 double strike, because it won't come with the -1/-1 counters. But there's now 0 hope of racing, and also not too much hope of surviving. They have 6 damage on board if they can just kill our Fanatic. Looks like they can't, though. They have to commune towards removal as well. Very good work from Fanatic of the Harrowing. Unless they have like a 1 mana +2/+2 here. Oh my god! I meant the combat trick. Like the +2/+2 till end of turn, not the +2/+2 forever. Oh no. I need to top deck Murder. I mean, almost any of our removal spells work. The only one that doesn't is Live or Die. I need to top deck one of those, and I need it instantly. I don't think I can go lower against a Bale Merkleech. If I let this through, I'm at 2 life. They play 2 enchantments or 1 room, and I die. They just play a room and then unlock the other door. Yeah, I have to chump. And top deck removal. Hey, oh, that one shoots me in the face, though. Slightly sketchy. Whee. And I'm just doing it right now while they're tapped out, because there is a hexproof trick in white. Four mana. Is this the, It's not the uncommon reanimate, that'd be double black. Ooh, it's the Defiled Crypt. Also pretty nice in this kind of archetype. Oh no. And this card just demolishes our Ghost Vacuum. Every time I Ghost Vacuum one of their cards, they get a 2/2. That's not good. They're at 34 life. They can genuinely afford to just take 8 to the face here. I guess I'm gonna put 2 blockers up here, though, against a single attacker anyway. Gonna want to commune very soon, just to gain the 3. But they need to play 4 enchantments in 1 turn to kill me. I guess the zombie tokens are enchantments. Or the horror tokens are enchantments. Uh-oh. Maybe I needed to commune immediately. 3 more enchantments on board would kill me. If they can spit out 3 enchantments for 3 mana. Alright, that's 1 enchantment. We are fine. Well, define fine. Kind of want to seized from slumber that leech in response to them playing another enchantment, which would mean no attacks at 2 life. Okay, I need to let this resolve so that they can't bring back the leech. Which means I have to go to 1. Okay, so now that they've targeted not the leech, now I can kill the leech. To not quite die. I have no choice but to gain life now. Ghost Vacuum's so bad against this crypt. Can I exile my own cards at least? 5 attackers. 3. Play a loner no matter what. Play a loner and a rat here. I just need to immediately play blockers. But I don't have the mana to play a loner and a rat. I could play a loner and a vacuum. But again, I can't vacuum any of their stuff. Man, having to chump block with the Faithful is rough. I mean, they might not attack here. I would be eating 2 of their creatures without losing a blocker. But I think they probably... Oh, no, they don't attack. Let's go. Just exile the stuff I'm definitely not going to reanimate. It's like Innocuous Rat. First... I can block with everybody and Faithful back something at the same time. Oh, shoot. 6, 4... No, they already have lethal. If I don't Ghost Vacuum a 1/1 out, I guess I could Faithful the 4/4 and stun somebody. And then I have 4 blockers against 5 attackers and I'm not quite dead. So I have to crack Faithful here. And then turn Faithful into a Spirit under the vacuum as well. Oh, this is a sorcery only. Well, guess we're making a 1/1, everybody. We're not! Oh, thank you so much for not attacking. Bill. Wait, this Ghost Vacuum might also be a sorcery. I guess it's a rare, so it's less likely they put that kind of restriction on it. Let me see. Ghost Vacuum is also a sorcery, so we were actually dead on board, because these are both sorcery abilities. At this point, I might have to Fear of Immobility, so if I miss another draw, I just reanimate everybody and use the Fear right now. Because if I miss on this draw and then I Faithful back a Fear of Immobility, I have 4 blockers against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 attackers, and I die. Yeah, I'm dead if I miss on this draw step. But if I Ghost Vacuum not Fear of Immobility, am I still okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blockers against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 attackers. Yeah, I could survive with a non-Fear of Immobility card. So I'll do that, so if I do draw a cheap creature, then I can Faithful back a Fear of Immobility and play that creature and be alive. Okay, so now the only way to not be dead on board is to just crack the vacuum, which sucks. I could always gamble that my opponent still thinks these are instant speed abilities and I just pass the turn, but then if they click all attack, we're dead. So that doesn't feel viable. Innocuous Rat is actually like kind of bad with the Ghost Vacuum because it's just going to exile when it dies. The only way to lose only one creature here is to lose one of my good ones. Goodbye, Plaything. One card in their hand again makes me want a Fanatic here. It was actually a creature. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're at 31 though. I don't even see a huge point in sending 1 damage in right now. Having significantly worse blocks. Got a 5/5. I got the 4/3 double strike in there. Yeah, we're gonna live or die reanimate next turn over Shepherding Spirits. Probably just getting back the double striker. Oh, and this Miasma Demon, as we top deck lands over time, it's gonna be a very big deal. Beautiful turn. Huge, huge, huge stuff right now. Slowly flipping it around. I will wipe the whole board. That is so cool with me. They're playing completely off the top. Let's go. They are still hitting lands. Mutilator, pretty good here. Because it forces me to lose the 4/4. Probably have to trap that in a screen. I think I can lose the rat. Oh, it does get its death trigger? I did not expect that. Oh, I guess they don't have finality counters on them. With the Ghost Vacuum, they just have flying counters on them. Alright, either way, we managed to pull that one out in the end. That was crazy. I did not feel like I had a chance for most of that game against that Cadaver Lab stuff, but Ghost Vacuum gets us just enough blocks. They did have an onboard lethal swing one time, I think. But either they didn't realize that we could use our abilities at instant speed, or they were playing around us having like one removal spell in hand or something. So we get to barely scrape by there. Yeah, Ghost Vacuum does not put finality counters on the stuff you pick up. The Ride of the Moths do. So Ride of the Mothing back something with a death trigger is rough, but Ghost Vacuuming it is still fine. Alright, cool. 2-1. Really did not expect to win that one in the end, but a nice, grindy game pans out in our favor. We are at a positive record as we head into Game 4. Alright, here we are on the play for Game 4. Probably our quickest hand so far. 1-drop, 2-drop. Not that these are good cards to... Well, Faithful's not a great card, turn 1. Just a 1-1. The Rat's a good 2-drop, though. A good defensive 2-drop. Just waiting on mulligans from our opponent. How did I not notice, like, the video game console looking thing the whole time? A little ghost video game console. The controller's in the second port. That's how you know they're fighting Lycomantis. Playing against a red deck. That makes me a little scared. Maybe they're blue-red. Blue-red has some of the strongest controlling red decks in this format. Pretty much every other red color pair is just pure aggro every time. Such as Rakdos. Rakdos is certainly Rakdos Sacrifice aggro. I offer a trade. Rat for rat. Let's go. Oh, come on, let's manifest the patched plaything. God, sweet baby RNGesus. Patch plaything in the top 2 one time, so we can flip up a 4/3 double striker for 3 mana. Either of our flashback cards would also be good hits. All right. No, the Ghost Vacuum. I wanted the best hits, not the worst ones. Tragic. Well, if they randomly play an island and a bounce spell, we'll have access to Ghost Vacuum. by putting it on the board instead of in our grave. Alright, if I cycle the spirits here, then I get to have just a 4/5 flyer next turn off the Faithful. Just upgrade that into a big flyer. And it is sorcery speed, and I'm gonna realize that this time and actually do it. Whee! Flyer has arrived. Red's removal shouldn't be great at killing this. There's 3 mana for 4 damage at common and 2 mana for 3 damage at common. The only common removal in red that kills this costs 5 mana. But there is an uncommon that's like 4 mana to deal 5 that could get this. Or they could have almost any black removal spell in the book and just destroy target creature. It's the 4 damage removal. It's too small. Thank you, chunky body. 4/5. Very cool. Miasma Demon would also be very cool if I have extra cards by the time I play it, but that's not likely. What is this? This is the +3/+0 Manifest Dread trick. That card is way too strong. Because it's so frustrating in spots like this. Where it's like, okay, I can block, and then they could spend 1 mana to kill my 4/5 flyer and just keep their 2/2 Manifest Dread on board. Because this turns into a 5/2, they trade, and when it dies, they manifest something else. So, like, you can literally know exactly what trick your opponent has, but it has such a pushed rate that it just doesn't matter. Like, I can't really play around it there super well. I have to just take all the damage. I have no blocks. And because we know that they have that, we're not going to have blocks with spirits again. We will use Fanatic of the Harrowing instead. I actually want to discard the Loner, because I want to make sure I definitely have 6 mana next turn, so I can play a demon, discard a card, kill one of their creatures next turn. Okay. Actually, draw a card, cast this. I'll have 2 cards in hand, because I'll play 1 land and 1 demon, and have a plains and whatever my top deck is still left in hand. So I can kill 2 of their creatures with demon. That'll be a really big deal. Let's get the Manifest Dread out of their hand, shall we? With Fanatic. I mean, if that's their best play, Fanatic actually even holds the Egotist off attacking. Maybe they've got double trick here. They've got the +3/+0 that they would have used if we blocked with the spirits, but they also have some extra toughness trick. Maybe the 2 mana +2/+2 lifelink. Oh, right, Egotist can give itself indestructible. I forgot about the sack ability because I was so focused on the life drain part. That's fine. Cannot make it indestructible to Miasma Demon. Unless this is like a 3 mana 2/3 they can flip up, that would be kind of devastating. Would you like to Manifest Dread? They would like to Manifest Dread. Oh my god, it was a 6/5 ward. Discard a card. It's a very costly ward cost. Okay, I can kill them in 2 swings. Hopefully they cannot kill me in 2 swings. I guess they get 3 swings. Oh, they milled a Skin Ripper? This is better than a Skin Ripper face down? Uh-oh, because that's a wonderful uncommon for Rakdos Sacrifice. Oh. Never mind. They don't have any way to deal with all the flyers, so they're just going to scoop them up. And we did it! We've got a very average, very mediocre reanimation deck here. We have everything going for us except the super good reanimation targets. But looks like that's enough. We're at 3-1. We have secured at least a 50-50 record for this draft. All right, game number 5. The mana is definitely awkward, but I know I can murder. Single Plains gets us to Ride of the Moth, but we actually don't have any of the land cyclers to reanimate anything with either. Probably have to mulligan that. This is definitely better. What do we get rid of here? Loner? I'm actually cycling spirits, then playing Torment Fanatic Liver Die. Yeah, they're on the play. Loner's never going to get his trigger. Loner's just going to be to trade off. I guess at that point I could get rid of Torment and use Loner to trade off another first threat instead of Torment. Still have the Liver Die to like surprise kill something. This is a painful mulligan. This would just be a really easy 7. 6 is rough. I think I need to just keep like a 2-mana way to just trade off, because if they're anything aggressive and I spend turn 2 land cycling and turn 3 paying life to kill something, I'm gonna die real quick. But this way I can spend turn 2 playing a blocker to trade off, so I'm not taking damage. Well, except that their first threat is a 1-1, which the 3-1 plays super bad against. So we are gonna spend turn 2 land cycling. Luckily, we drew Trapped in the Screen, so we found a better removal spell against aggro than the one that makes us pay life. Okay, there's the Egotist, which probably need to exile because they can make it indestructible. So that's likely the turn 3 play. Oh, I can't murder it. I don't have double black yet. Yep, Trapped in the Screen it is then. If I try to go for the Loner trade, they can just still trade Loner into the Rat. It just costs them a couple mana to do it at this point. Very similar to most of our games. All we're doing here is trying to buy time and slow down the game, which will be a little harder against defaced gallery. Now even the 1-1s are attacking as 2-1s. But here's our own good blocker, the Innocuous Rat. I take 4 damage if I commune, but I gain 3 life, and I really need to hit lands here. I think I have to commune for a land and take 4. Okay, Miasma Demon's a wonderful Liver Die target. That's the second black for murder and Liver Die, which is super, super important. Disturbing Mirth. Sack a rat, draw 2, manifest. Pretty gross. And the Mirth is a great target to sacrifice later, because then they get to sack that and manifest again. Get another 2-2 onto the board. Oof, they've even got the curve out to activate the Painter Studio and draw even more cards. At least the Painter Studio just finds some flood. Okay. Against a 1-1 and a 2-2, I kinda want to just play an Innocuous Rat and a Loner for now, so that I can trade into this Innocuous Rat before I reanimate the Miasma Demon. So that when we do reanimate that, we're just clearing out all the manifested 2-2s. Hopefully this face down does not have 4 more toughness, and it looks like it doesn't. Ooh, a Faithful? What is the Nowhere to Run? Oh, that's what they manifested. Razorkin. 5 power. It's a little bit of a yikes. So I don't need really 6 toughness cards in this deck, so that's going to cost me a card no matter how I play it out. Do I just murder it? And trade into the 2/2 again? I don't mind that. If I do it while they're more tapped out, they're less likely to have some way to sack it and do something good. But if I hold off, then we can see what they play, and maybe a liver die is going to end up playing better. They got some scary, like the 2-mana 2/2 trample haste or something like that. They're just going to sack a land, draw a card. Yep. This has been a really rough amount of card draw from such an aggressive deck to just really keep up. They're even running Derelict Addict for another draw too. Yeah. Make sure they never run out of threats. Well, I can kill 2/2/2s with a Miasma Demon later. Just Fanatic for now. They've got literally no board to attack me with right now, so I guess I'm not demoning yet. Ooh, we got a Final Vengeance. Let's go. And I drew Fear of Immobility, so if they still don't really have creatures, then just Fear of Immobility. Okay, they still don't really have creatures. Build up the naturally better board for now. Yeah, just load it up with removal, it looks like. Plaything attacks into the Fanatic and blocks it for free. So I'm just going to load that up too. Or set that up. And then that's another option for the liver die. Or the flashback reanimation spells. If we find one of those, that'll be huge, so that we can get both the demon and the plaything back. Percussionist, activate the Shattered Yard to start pinging me. And I'm feeling lovely. They double block, then I can Miasma Demon, discard the Swamp here. Alright, Chump is fair too. Chump, I think we probably played a Snatcher. The only thing I don't like about playing the Snatcher is if they have more Fanatics in their deck and they top deck one, that'll be kind of gross. But 6/5 Ward, discard a card is pretty massive on this board. Fear of Lost Teeth. Still living in fear of another Fanatic. No Fanatic. So Fear of Lost Teeth is going to eat my plaything. It's just going to kill that thing. Kind of tragic. Yeah, there's no way to play around it. Because it's if it dies, doesn't matter how it dies. I guess I could reanimate Fear of Immobility to play around it. 14 to 16 life, is that worth it? I guess the Miasma Demon isn't killing anything right now because we're not discarding Seized from Slumber. But then if they draw anything that sacks it, they're still going to kill Plaything anyway. I don't know if this is right. but I'm just gonna go ham. I'm just gonna go full beatdown. They trade with the Fanatic. They take 8 here. Oh god, I hate that trick. 2-2 trades up into a 6-5 and basically sticks on board. They still have a 2-2. Okay, Final Vengeance. Yeah, that's super gross. Kill the Plaything and the Fear of Immobility. Attack here. And then Innocuous Rat for the blocker. Withering Torment. Well, Slumber the face down and torment the defaced gallery, and then we're in a top deck war. I have 2 cards that pretty much auto win the game here. And those are our flashback reanimation spells we've been wanting the whole game. But they're both in the bottom 14. Opponent starts the top deck war with Piggy Bank, which is pretty great. And we start it with Rite of the Moth, exactly what the doctor ordered. We get the Plaything this turn. Next turn we get the Miasma Demon when we actually have cards to discard to it. I am on a 7-turn clock from this Shattered Yard, but I think I needed to kill the +1/+0 so they couldn't rat here. Faithful back somebody instead. They're at 11. They have to chump. They just chump with the rat. Can Fanatic their last card in hand. They're going to take 3 hits to die in the sky no matter what, so I could reanimate my flyer that doesn't kill things, so that next turn I can Rite of the Moth, the one that does. Yeah, so like Shepherding Spirits here, and the next turn I grab the Miasma Demon. If I grab the Miasma Demon now with Rite of the Moth, then I discard a card and I don't have the other reanimation spell anymore. I only pick up 1 thing from Grave Total. So we do it in the other order. This is an incredible sack deck from our opponent, by the way. Oh, they milled their whole deck, though. Oh, they ran away. They drew their whole library, though. Hold on. There's nothing over there anymore. I didn't even notice that the whole time. Well, okay. 4-1 it is. And I guess that's a really good sign that we managed to just survive them casting their entire deck. They drew the whole thing, and we still survived barely long enough. Again, barely long enough, but that's because they got to play their whole deck. I guess they manifested a lot. So they did mill a lot with manifest, so technically they didn't cast. Probably like 10 of the cards just got milled. Like the Glimmer Light, the Nowhere to Run. Yeah, no. That was just because they had so much manifest in the deck. That is completely not how I expected that game to end. I was just expecting them to like get another good 2-2 here. We get forced into some blocks, lose the Fanatic, and then I top deck literally anything. I Ride the Moth back a 5/4 flyer, kill a 2/2, get 2 flying attacks and a win. That was the plan. But I guess they had like no cards left, so that works too. 4-1 heading into game number 6. All right, here we are for game 6. Nice defensive hand here, and if they're trying to do any self-mill shenanigans, we shut that right off with the Poltergust 3000. Fellow black deck from our opponent. They've got those Bloom Burrow Swamps. Very cute. Flesh Burrower is the start, and they are Golgari, so should be a good Ghost Vacuum matchup. I'll trade Fanatic of the Harrowing into this Flesh Burrower, so we are not going to spend removal on it. Well, that's pretty good. I guess I can pick up the Ride of the Moth and mill the 5/5, so I can pick up the 5/5 and something else with the Ride of the Moth later. I guess as long as they don't have a Glimmer token, this thing's got Menace as well, so we could just reanimate it immediately. Alright, that's fine, you got it. We spent 1 mana to get rid of their 3 mana removal. That is fine by me. Now we are just on the reanimation game plan and not the Ghost Vacuum game plan. Go, Fear the Dark, go! Don't you dare play a Glimmer. Fear of Exposure. That is a nightmare, not a glimmer. But also, Fear of Immobility is like the perfect draw. We're just going to play that. Doesn't even matter. Might have actually been better to tap the Flesh Burrower, since Fear of Exposure being untapped didn't matter at all there. This way they don't really counterattack us, but still. Actually don't really mind these trades. They have to double block the Fear of the Dark to kill it, and if they trade the Death Toucher into the Fear of Immobility, then that means it's just going to be easier for Fear of the Dark to get in the future. And I can exile the Brood Spinner to make sure that's not going to do any nonsense. And I don't know if I blow up the Fear of Exposure or just pick up the Loner here. I think I pick up the Loner, because if I top deck a land, then I Ride of the Moth back the Fear of Immobility and stun Fear of Exposure anyway. If I don't top deck the land, I can just hardcast this for 5 mana. Wildfire Wickerfolk. Oh, they're going for it? At 10 life, bold moves. We'll see. See how it plays out. Okay. We'll go for it as well. Just gonna put another Ride of the Moth in grave, probably. Then, do they have an enchantment in grave already? They don't have an enchantment in grave, so if I kill Fear of Exposure, this is a 4/3 trample now. Or if I play Fanatic, they discard something that gives Delirium as well. I think I'm gonna Innocuous Rat and hold up the Seized from Slumber's instant speed removal for one of their attacking creatures. Okay, Manifest Dread probably gives them Delirium anyway. You got a sorcery in grave yet? Nope. Yeah, that's Delirium. No matter what they mill. They're at 2 life? They might not even attack. Because, yeah, Fear of the Dark still has Menace. Dang, I guess we would have killed them if we seized one of their creatures. They wouldn't have enough blockers, but Rite of the Moth mana works too. Stun somebody. Go, team, go. Fear of the Dark and Cynical Loner alone is lethal. And that is 5 and 1. We are in the money. Out of this draft, who needs seasoning? we're just going to play the blandest black-white deck that I will probably ever draft in the format, at least hopefully ever draft in the format, where we're just reanimating common and uncommon idiots. 5-1 now, leaving this event with more gems than we paid in no matter what, as we head into round number 7. Here we are for game 7. Likely a forced mulligan here. We are on the draw. We've got 2 mana removal no matter what. I mean, I guess, unless they play like a Vigilant Threat or something. Just goes so wrong without the swamp. This is the safer hand for sure. Got Faithful for a turn 4 Gigantic Flyer. So we get rid of the fear, because I already have a reanimation target. And I've got a Ghost Vacuum. So I'll set that up first. They're on the play here. They could turn 2 cast a Manifest Dread, which will put some cards in their grave for us to exile. But they did not. No plays turn 2. They are green-blue as well, which is... I don't know if I've ever beaten Zimone yet. I've certainly lost to Zimone a lot. Three mana for a 1/1 and a 3/3 is already an insanely good deal, and if you don't have the removal for her quick, 3 mana for a 1/1, a 3/3, and a 5/5 is completely game-winning. And then she just keeps going from there. Makes a 7/7, makes an 11/11. Takes a couple turns in between each, but still a ridiculous card. Well, I was digging for the swamp, but Trapped in the Screen works too. Guess now I've got a Fanatic to put into the Ghost Vacuum. Take 4. Under the Skin. Manifest Dread. Let's see, if I full control here, do I get a response after they manifest before they choose something? For science purposes, this is full control, so any response I could ever have, Arena is going to give me the opportunity, but I'm not sure there's any opportunity to respond at all with this card, the way it's worded. Yeah, no, you can't. They just pick whatever they want. Yeah, that's gross. Graveyard interaction spells like that are worded that way, where like it doesn't even matter if you have the interaction, are pretty nasty. Alright. Get rid of a Fanatic. So we've got a Fanatic Spirit later. Found the black source. And would likely... Well... I guess we don't see any black mana from their opponent. They could still have white reanimation spells, but then I can Ghost Vacuum Zimone. Yeah, hold on. We probably do want to Ghost Vacuum Zimone, so we take 5 for doing this, but we murder Zimone and then put her in the vacuum. Stops them from getting a 5/5, so we definitely have to kill her this turn, but our other option would be we could play a chump blocker and kill her. They've already shown us they have removal for enchantments, though, so there's also the risk of us killing Zimone with Trapped in the Screen, and then them saving her from the screen, getting her end step trigger again in that same turn. That would be really filthy. Okay, 5 damage. And they pass with 4 mana up. Interesting. Instant speed graveyard recursion? Nope. Oh, I guess they don't have the black source for the leech. They're actually like 4 color plus. They do have black mana. So they're going to use the keys to get a swamp. Land number 5. Can play a Faithful and get a 4/5 flying blocker. This is our best attempt at getting some blockers going here, but with all their mana open, they're probably just killing this. Here comes the black source. Red source, full 5-color Neil. The absolute mad lad. Do they have the 5-color legend then? That draws all their enchantments out of their deck? Well, Neil's having fun. If I get got by the 1-mana red combat trick from the 5-color deck, I'm gonna uninstall Arena. Let's see what we get got by here. Okay, I don't. This might be like a board wipe or a damage spell or something. Yeah, damage spell. Fair enough. Got that out of the way, and now I can make 2/2s to block their 2/2s. They have no more creatures in their graves, so I have to exile my own. Do I not want to reanimate? Valvegos Faithful will choose you. Patched Plaything, that is a good card for Ghost Vacuum. And just good at blocking 2/2s. Do I hardcast it? Because it already just stops their attacks. Yeah, this stops them dead in their tracks, so let's just set it up. I guess I run out of Ghost Vacuum targets this way. If I had Fanatic, be more cards engraved for it. Oh. Well, I'm still... Oh, wait, I'm not still blocking? Why is that how it works? Wait. Oh, it's -2, -2. Those are bad counters. Yeah, okay, Unable to Scream is actually good against Plaything, not bad against Plaything. I got mixed up. Some plays like cards with +1/+1 counters and stuff being good against Unable to Scream. I don't like the active Shattered Yard over there, and that top deck is a little sad. I don't have my 6 mana for the Ghost Vacuum yet. Let's get a big blocker. Stop this damage on board, please. Okay, still no black source for the leech, but we are down to 8. Take 2 to stop taking damage from that thing. I guess I could Trapped in the Screen it instead. That's probably fine. Well, sort of fine. If they kill our Trapped in the Screen, that'll be bad, because then they get it back and they can re-unlock both the rooms over time. But if they draw removal for an artifact or enchantment, they kind of need to kill Ghost Vacuum first anyway. Fanatic, find me land 6, please. Please and thank you. There it is. And we're just going to pop a Vacuum for 5/1/1s next turn. Year of Isolation. Ooh, it's the Smoky Lounge Misty Salons. They're trying to do 5-color rooms. But that's the only room I think we've seen all game. Oh no, I exiled the other one. Glassworks Shattered Yard. Okay, get a couple mana for rooms, and get a 2/2 flyer. Pretty solid. So a bunch of flying threats, well I'll have a bunch of flying blockers. I don't really want to discard a card to Fanatic, but it does make them discard a card. Yeah, probably better than Leech. But I have to choose what I ditch here. I feel like I should probably do this immediately. I could get greedy. It's only one more turn. I'm giving them one final top deck to find a way to blow up the Vacuum. they don't immediately hit it, it is better to wait a turn here. Alright. Gonna wait a turn. Okay, they pass through. We're fine. We'll get 6 flyers. Oh, it's 2 fanatics? Goodbye Faithful and probably Withering Torment because I have the Seized from Slumber. Drawing land 7 would be really good. Well, I guess I can discard Fear of Immobility at this point. Land 7, land 7. Yes, Simone. That's what I'm talking about. Oh my god, if they Pyroclasm me, they do a lot of damage. They have my life total. Kill all the 1/1 flyers. Under the Skin for this Victor thing. That's a lot of text. If they can have 3 enchantments hit the board or rooms unlock in 1 turn, they can reanimate something. They also Surveil 2, make us discard a card. Oh, they picked the keys to the room to just make another 2/2. They can lock the Misty Salon and then unlock it. Yeah, just get another flyer to try to not die. Oh no, get the black source? Wait, they got the 5-color rare, because it also cares about rooms. So now they can play the 5-color rare. What? Bro, that was just the best Let's Play game I've ever seen. At least it's 1 damage from lethal. But wow. Yeah, that's... Oh, that's bad. Guess I keep the demon, because anything I top deck gets to work as a removal spell against one of their flyers still. Or actually the face down. Then I could just like demon kill the face down, kill them if they try to put me to 1 here. I was not expecting Jigsaw to show up and just demolish my Poltergust. Professor Egad would be so mad. Okay. Attack me with 1 creature. Go to 3. Fear of Immobility. I would rather just kill than stun. But if I stun, then I still have the demon and this 4/4 thing. Okay, they scoop. It's not dead on board, but I can force a chump and put them to 1. Which would be a little risky, because then I'm dead to Shattered Yard. Right, so if they find like something that deals with an enchantment, they get rid of the trap within the screen, and then they unlock the Shattered Yard to deal 1, and that's 3 damage right there. So I think I was going to have to just like send in the 7/7 and 1 flyer. Which still forces a chump, actually. Because that'd be 11 damage if they don't block. So yeah, chump the 7/7, take 4, and then kill them next turn is the safe play. Cool. Alright, neat deck from our opponent. Unfortunately, I don't think they drew the cards that they were building around to be a 5-color deck. I have to imagine. I mean, they had the room that spits out a flyer for each room you control. I imagine they had the 5-color legend that draws all of the enchantments out of like your top 7 or something, and also lets you tap it to like lock and unlock all your rooms and all kinds of crazy nonsense. So if they ever hit that thing, we might have just had a really bad time, but it was still a pretty close game, so cool deck from our opponent. But we do manage to go 6-1 as we head into the final battle with 2 rounds in the chamber. All right, here we are for what may be the final boss. Decent enough mana here. We need double black, but we can use the Snatcher to get it. Red, white, and black from our opponent, and a 2-mana 2/2 trample haste to get things rolling. Certainly happy to have exile removal against that, because otherwise it keeps coming back from the grave with a +1/+1 counter. So we're going to have to trap that in the screen and murder their other stuff. Ooh, no 3-drop. Love to see that. That is certainly helpful. I'm going to be a little slower here. Faithful at this point is a little sad, because I don't get to curve out with it to where I reanimate something turn 4. I gotta wait till turn 5 now. Still worth exiling the Sprinter, though, and holding off on the Snatcher till turn 5. Well, I need land 5 to guarantee the faithful thing. Guess I'm ditching the spirits. Maybe just ditch the Withering Torment. It's also an option. They're stuck on 3 mana. Do they just have a bunch of 4 mana or more spells, or do they have a bunch of removal? These are somewhat aggressive colors. Yeah, there's a Final Vengeance. Cracked Skull. No! Faithful! No! Run! Alright, well. Faithful's gone. We're just gonna sit here and jam in a 2/2 until they play something, and then we'll kill that. This game just got real awkward. It's time for us to stare at each other. Solid draw, though. No ETB effect, but sometimes you just gotta play a 5-mana 4/4. Because your opponent's board is empty, and you want to keep life total pressure on. No! 4 damage exactly. Hello, sometimes you have to play a 5/4 flyer, because your opponent's just not playing 2/2s. This is exactly how it feels to play Cracked Skull, to play Thoughtseize style cards, by the way. You play it, you see your opponent's hand, you know exactly what they have, and then they just cast cards you didn't even see 2 turns in a row. Just like, yep, I top decked the 5-drop creature into the 6-drop creature. I drew into the curve. Didn't matter because their deck is absolutely loaded with removal. Yeah, which makes that Disturbing Mirth incredible. Just sack a Glassworks to draw 2. Have that left behind to manifest later. Been really impressed by the Glassworks and Disturbing Mirth combo in particular. It's pretty annoying. I think I have to hold on to these to kill something better than a 2/2. Although that is going to get Delirium soon-ish. And then it's a problem. And it's a 4/2 menace. That was a good draw. Nice and mana efficient. Midnight Mayhem. It's mayhem time. They gain a bunch of life. Now they got plenty of 1/1s to sack. Ooh, please don't have artifact removal. Please do not have artifact removal. So Fanatic's basically a 2/1 because of the Cracked Skull on it. So I think I'm just jamming with that still. Like pick up a Valvagos Faithful and some stuff with our vacuum. Another Midnight Mayhem. Okay, that's really bad. Because wide board states are a problem. Oh my god, those are so filthy in duplicates. These gremlins also have menace? I guess we just die, because I can't block anything now then. Wow. Alright, well, those stack egregiously well. I guess we're going to game number 9. Which is why it was nice to have 2 shots at the final boss. The Splinter Twin combo is actually just 2 copies of Splinter Twin. Maybe I needed to even murder a 1/1 gremlin. That feels so terrible. But, I mean, at this point, we block 3, take 3, we're at 4. Yikes. At 4 against an active Shattered Yard. At best. And they're probably doing even more than that. That's just like their worst case scenario is unlock the Shattered Yard, put us to 4. What they got? It is unlock the Shattered Yard, put us to 4, it looks like. Oh, it's just unlock the Shattered Yard, okay. That gives me some more time to maybe get some of the ghost vacuum blockers here. I think we're taking Faithful. Cast Torment and Murder on this turn cycle. Stop on their second main, take 2 damage instead of 1 damage this turn, but then I don't take any more damage for the rest of time. Off of the Shattered Yard, I'm certainly going to take some more damage somewhere else, like by 1/1 gremlins or something. Their hand that feeds. Do they have an enchantment in their graveyard yet? Yes. Okay, so I can kill the Shattered Yard and that still doesn't have Delirium. Ooh. If I kill that, it has Delirium. That also nukes me from orbit if it ever attacks, so I have to kill that. So I have to murder Arabella, torment the Shattered Yard, ghost vacuum my Miasma Demon to discard a swamp to kill the hand that feeds, and even then, don't know if I live. I'm going to be at 1 life. It's going to be rough. Oh, my 1 life gain spell in the deck and an incredible reanimation spell. Goodbye, you two. Guess on board it'll be barely enough. To not die, but if they have basically any spell in their hand, we'll die. Manifest off her? Okay. I'll have to discard whatever I draw into, but I can still kill the hand that feeds and their other 2/2 and have 3 blockers up. Okay. 3 blockers up. This is a lot of blockers, actually. Probably want to always have 1 more blocker than they have attackers, so we start chipping for 5. That'll be a 4-turn clock. We gotta try to get the damage in to give them less chances to draw into the Shattered Yard that would, like, instantly kill us. Okay, well, I'm glad I have 4 blockers. I want the Demon engraved so I can sack Faithful, bring back the Demon, and kill more cards. Oh, I can't sack the Faithful because I have to chump with it here anyway. Okay. Yeah, no, this is literally the only way to block. There's a head empty kind of block. There's no other option. Okay. Come on, top deck. Come on, top deck. Okay, that's something. Play around the top decked haste creature or try to keep them on that 3-turn clock. I think I have to keep them on that 3-turn clock. It just gives them less time to draw anything that can just shoot me in the face. Another Midnight Mayhem, also insanely lethal no matter how many blockers I hold up. So I think it's right to put them on a clock, even if it does add to the list of things we can die to. It adds just haste threats as a potential way to kill me. That's a big card draw engine, but Fear of Immobility is a big draw. Play around them drawing a haster. Now, and still have lethal next turn. No! 3 Midnight Mayhem! Not like this! Why? I feel like I played that out pretty dang well, but the triple Midnight Mayhem Wombo combo is nuts. So close. They missed 1 more draw step, we would have won there. All right, 6-2 it is. We've got 1 final chance at the final boss. All right, here we are for the final boss. We're 6-2 right now, an excellent record for this deck no matter what happens, but would be nice to top out that prize out with a 7-win run. So see how well we do here. We are in a forced mulligan opener. This hand is very bad. And this is also horrific. Literally no castable spells without top decking a swamp means I think we need to start with a 5-lander this game, which is extra rough. So, this is also a really bad hand. 4, 5, 6 drop here. No, nothing early at all. Guess I just do this, keep the lands to make sure I can ride the moth and just hope I find the discard for this demon. What can you do? Some really bad openers to start this final battle. We're going to have to draw pretty well to dig out of this starting hand. And they're another Boros deck, which is not what you want to see with the slowest hand of the day. Because that is the fastest deck in the format. Yep. 2-drop creature, 3-drop creature. Well, this is another 2-drop, but you know what I mean. Slam a creature down turn 2, slam a creature down turn 3. Probably slam a creature down turn 4. Likely take 4 here and kill the 4-drop creature. It's probably a little bigger. It stops more damage in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, that's a 4/3, and it costs 4 mana for them to re-equip that, so it will slow them down even if they get to move the equipment. Well, that's what we needed to find to ditch the demon here. Ditch the demon, draw a card means we'll have the fuel to discard cards to kill these 2/2s. If they just play a couple more 2/2s, we might be okay here. Ideally just one more 2/2, because then I just Miasma Demon kill all 3 2-toughness cards. We would hate to see them equip the machete. Okay, that might be fine, and it might be bad. Depends if they play an enchantment. They play the strongest enchantment in the format. It's very bad. I cannot Miasma Demon that because the Ward 2. I can't Miasma Demon the Cheerleader anymore because the Scavenger put the counter on it. And that's game. I can Ride the Moth back a demon. Discard a swamp to kill a scavenger. I have blockers for what they have on board, but then they just put a machete on the cheerleader, attack in, force me to trade the demon off into that. Then next turn they put machete on Fear of Surveillance and kill me. If I just play Fanatic of the Harrowing, they just put the machete on the Fear of Surveillance. And then the Fanatic has to just trump it and we take 4. Or they can put the machete on the flyer and we take 5. What is technically best here? If I do the Fanatic of the Harrowing thing, I can try to set up to where I can Ride the Moth for 4 and have the 2 mana up to deal with Fear of Surveillance, but that's not going to work if they just put the machete on it. Then I still won't be able to kill it with Demon regardless. I think I have to just like top deck removal here. I think they're too likely to just throw the machete on the Fear of Surveillance anyway. We just need to play the demon, kill the scavenger, trade into the cheerleader, hold off Fear of Surveillance for 1 turn. Then if we get that trade there and I top deck removal for Fear of Surveillance, we can try to stabilize from there off of being able to then 6 mana Ride of the Moth later. But they have to draw blanks. They have to hit like land. But it's the only chance we have, and they drew literally perfect. Drew into lethal. Alright, very unwinnable game there. Worst mulligans of the day, worst hand of the day, and a fantastic aggressive start from our opponent. Think that was about the best we could have done going for that Miasma Demon thing. Again, really unlikely to pan out, but nothing we have there is likely to. That felt like the best chance. It has a sequence of turns that can lead to being stable if we draw the right card. Because, yeah, if they miss on that draw step, again, it is kill the scavenger, they machete up the cheerleader to send that in, and we have a forced trade there because I can't just take 5. Then their board is a single Fear of Surveillance. We draw the removal for that. We kill it, and the board is a single 2/2 against their nothing, while I have a 6-mana flashback reanimation spell engraved. So then I'm up a card in the top deck war from there, even though they're up a lot of life. Being up a card can be enough to try to compete. I think that was our best bet. But looks like it really didn't matter how we played that one out. 6-3 will be the final record. Honestly, much better than I thought it was going to be after we drafted this deck. Certainly missing on great reanimation targets, but the consistency really helped us here, where anytime we drew our Rite of the Moths, our Live or Dies, or our Faithfuls, we always had something engraved to reanimate them super easily because we had all these land cyclers and all these fanatics. So they still played well, even if the reanimation targets were pretty mediocre. I think, again, this color pair seemed pretty dang open in the draft pod because we got tons of great removal spells and 2 Rite of the Moths and 2 Faithfuls that we got pretty late. So I don't think that this was the wrong color pair to be in or anything, and that's why we didn't get good reanimation targets. I think that, honestly, just not a lot of good reanimation targets got opened, or they were scooped up by the green ramp drafters, just like splashing in our big reanimation targets. But again, it does show some of the flaws of this archetype. Even when it's wide open, sometimes it's hard to find the good cards for it, and you end up playing some filler stuff that makes your deck just decent. But even then, even with this bread and butter, really basic, really kind of bland version of the black-white reanimate deck, because we were in an open color pair, got tons of removal, and got the good synergy cards, we still managed to pull out a 6-3 run with it. So yeah, shows some of the downsides of the archetype, but also some of the upsides, still getting a solid run even without the good finishers. So not bad. Not a bad day of Magic for sure. But we are going to get 1,800 gems, not quite the full prize out here for today's draft. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more like it, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.